Hello, Usha madam.
Yes,
Madam.
sir. Yes, sir.
Madam, start, madam.
Okay, sir. Sure. Thank you, sir. Good morning, Dr. DMK Chaitanya, sir, today's speaker, all participants, and my dear faculty friends. On behalf of Vignan's Institute of Management and Technology for Women, I welcome you all for the 6th day faculty development program on microstrip patch antenna. I am Usha Rani, working as an assistant professor in ECE department. It's my great pleasure and honor to introduce today's speaker, Dr. DMK Chaitanya, sir. Dr. D.M.K. Chaitanya sir received his PhD degree in radio frequency and microwave engineering from Jawaharlal Nehru Technological University, Hyderabad, JNTUH, Hyderabad, India. He has completed his AMIE ECE degree from the IETE, New Delhi, India, and microwave and Master of Engineering in Microwave and Radar Engineering from Osmania University, Hyderabad, India. He received his MBA HRM degree from IGNOU University, India. He is having 20 plus years of teaching experience and served in various teaching and administrative positions in various engineering colleges in and around Hyderabad, India. Presently, he is working as an assistant professor in the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering, VCE, Hyderabad. And he is having 6.5 years of industrial experience along with 8 years of research experience in the area of microwave antenna. He served as a consultant and part-time faculty in ECIT, ECIL, and various other institutions. He has authored more than 35 research papers in international journals and 6 international conference papers and guided many UG, PG, and research projects in the field of radio frequency and microwave engineering domain. He is a senior member of IEEE, Antennas and Propagation Society, Microwave Theory and Techniques Society, and life member of ISTK India. He was the selected biographer of Marcus WHO in World continuously from the year 2007. He has got the domain expertise in the area of radio frequency and microwave engineering domain, which includes design of the microwave circuitry in ASIS, HFSS, CST, MWO, and knowledge of RF measurements. He is associated with the RF industry in completing many RF domain-specific projects. He is the resource person to many conferences and organized various workshops in RF simulation tools. His current research area of interest includes reconfigurable antennas and RF circuit design. Dr. DMK Chaitanya sir, now I request you to take over the session.
Thank you for your introduction. And so, good morning, one and all. I'll start with. Yeah, thank you, madam. And thank you, Samiran sir and Vijay Kumar Gurkude HOD sir. Thank you very much. Thank you. And for giving me an opportunity to share my knowledge on reconfigurable antennas. Thank you, sir. Right. I'll share my slides, sir. Is it visible, sir?
It's coming.
Yes,
yeah, visible.
Right.
Chaitanya sir, your mic is mute. Chaitanya sir. Hello, Chaitanya sir.
Yeah, yes.
Sir, your mic. Okay. Continue, sir. No.
Yeah, sorry. Good morning, one and all, and welcome to the session on hands-on experience, hands-on training of reconfigurable antennas on this 6th day of FDP, being organized by the Vignan Institute of Management Technology for Women, Hyderabad. Okay. Hope all of you are enjoying the sessions and experiencing different concepts related to the modeling and research on antennas and RF and microwave domain. Right. and I thank the management as well as the organizers technical committee for arranging such kind of very informative and innovative training programs. And today's let me start with some fundamentals, and as well as hands-on training with the HFSs. Of course, I'll be using HFSS 15 version only, old version, but the basic concepts I'll just give you. Right now here, the design at RF and microwave frequencies have become more significant because of the evolution of new wireless standards as well as new wireless devices and technologies every day. So therefore, researchers found it more useful to work on the design of antennas rather than the complex signal processing techniques. So this has led to the design of a reconfigurable antennas, which requires a specialized antennas to make use of the electromagnetic spectrum very effectively. So therefore, the concept of the reconfigurable antennas have come into existence. Right? Let me start with the design of recon. First of all, let me start with the electromagnetic spectrum. I'll take a few minutes on the basics so that it will be useful, and we'll go in a different point of view. Now, as we know, the EM spectrum is the range of frequencies or spectrum of electromagnetic radiation along with their respective wavelengths. Now here, to prevent the interference between the different users, the generation of the transmission of radio waves that's strictly regulated by a national laws and coordinated by the international body, that is International Telecommunication Union (ITU). They have been assigning different frequencies for different vertical services. Nearly there are 40 radio services are defined by the ITU. In some cases, the spectrum is sold or licensed to the operators of private radio operators, cell phones, broadcast televisions, etc. Because it is a fixed resource which is in demand by increasing the number of users, the spectrum became so congested and need to be utilized more effectively. That is what we call in dealing with the new technologies as well as in driving the modern telecommunications. So innovations such as spectrum management, frequency pooling, of course the cognitive radio, which are the new technologies that are being utilized to use the electromagnetic spectrum very effectively. So we should effectively make use of the spectrum. Rather, I was of course, so these concepts, I was greatly inspired by Dr. Vijay Nair, Intel Corporation, when he has delivered a lecture on cognitive radios and make use by using the reconfigurable antennas in the year of 2005 or 6, something like that. So really it was annual. So at the time only the cognitive radio research was coming into the vertical existing. That is nearly from 2000 onwards, the CR concept have began. Of course, it's a very excellent vertical session, reconfigurable antennas, and the design of the antennas will give you a more technicality and designing the vertical new, working with the new designs. So apart from the traditional antennas that are from the vertical, of course, we have got different frequencies and applications. Now, apart from the various standard antennas or traditional antennas that are in use, like wire antennas, loop antennas, arrays, lens antennas, etc., the invention of the microstrip patch antenna, which is the theme of the FDP, have revolutionized the vertical, facelifted the antenna technology into new dimensions. Actually, the concept of microstrip antennas was first proposed by George Deschamps in 1953. Then later, Gutton and Bassinot presented a paper at the time in 1955, but there are no proper substrate materials and are vertical. They were remained in the laboratories till 1970. But when until it was further developed by Robert Munson. So of course nowadays the this substrate materials and the research on substrate materials and everything. So our it is very much required, because we have to import the substrate materials from the outside. So say, if at all that may be later times it will be a problem. So our government of India established different companies like CMET in Secunderabad, along with what you call ARSA. They are working exclusively on developing these substrate materials even in Hyderabad. Now, as we can observe what you call from these slides, now we have got a different wireless standards that are integrated into our mobile phones, like Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and infrared, etc. Therefore, we have to miniaturize the system design so as to support all these wireless standards and technology by using different antennas techniques. Now here we have got a different multi-radio platform. You just can observe different wireless standards are being what you call there. Now here you see we have a different wireless devices we are working every day, we are dealing with them. Now coming to the wireless standards, as from this slide we can see different wireless standards so that are working with the different operational frequencies like WLAN and Bluetooth, and of course so Wi-Fi, WiMAX, and 3G and GPS, ultra wideband, etc. Now here if we see the Wi-Fi and everything, so the data rate may be up to what you call 54 Mbps, as on the distance it is covered by the Wi-Fi is only 30 up to 30 meters. Similarly, we have a Zigbee, only it can be up to it will be working up to very lesser distances. Even Bluetooth only up to 10 meters. The data rate up to is only up to 1 Mbps, right? So likewise, these different wireless standards are working with different vertical data rates, as well as the ranges, as well as the bandwidths. Now, so therefore, in order to support these different technologies, so what you call to increase the functionality, we need a single antenna, that is a reconfigurable antenna. Now, what is meant by the reconfigurable antenna? Now, a reconfigurable antenna has the ability to radiate more than one pattern at different frequencies and polarizations. Of course, now it can provide diversity feature of operating resonating frequency, polarization, as well as radiation pattern without changing the physical structure. So how can we achieve the reconfigurability? Only by changing the current distribution over the structure. Now, what are the different types of what we call reconfigurable antennas that we have? Now, so we have different types of reconfigurability, that is a frequency reconfigurability, pattern reconfigurability, polarization reconfigurability. Of course, the combination of these three is termed as a compound reconfigurability, as rather I can say here. Now, what we are going to do is, so we are having, see, we are not changing the vertical physical structure. Of course, by using some different techniques of switching, or there are different types of vertical techniques, we are going to achieve the reconfigurability here. Now you just can see here, so this is suppose if at all antenna is working at different frequencies, so I just can use only one antenna rather than using a different antennas for different frequencies. Similarly, polarization, see, so using these antennas, I'll have only one antenna to what you call radiate differently or what you call in different directions. Similarly, the polarization reconfigurability, whether I need circular linear polarization or maybe the circular polarization, etc. Now here, now why these vertical reconfigurable antennas? Now here, so this reconfigurable antennas can reduce the size as well as the volume, as well as the cost of the vertical system. Similarly, they support multifunctionality, and it requires a lower end front end processing, which reduces the interference. Actually, that is a very important. Even yesterday also the experts have given the MIMO techniques and everything, which reduces the interference, which is useful for adaptive environments like cognitive radio and etc. Now, the reconfigurability, how to achieve the reconfigurability? Now, the reconfigurability can be achieved by many ways, just like either by using electrical switching, or maybe the optical switching, or maybe by changing the physical orientation of the antenna, or by changing the material change. Now here what I am going to do is, so this is a fixed antenna, actually this is a structure. I am not going to change the structure, I am designing the structure like that. So I may be using a electrical switch here or maybe optical switch, so that whenever, see, depending on the switching characteristics, the antenna length of the antenna will be varying. So in turn the current distribution will vary, therefore the antenna will be radiating differently with the different resonant frequencies. So here what I am going to do is, either I may be using the vertical switching technique like electrical switching or maybe the optical switching, or physically changing. I may be using a rotor here or stepper motor here, so that I can change the orientation. So therefore I also can achieve the reconfigurability. Similarly, by using different material changes. So on the design and everything we'll just see here. Now what are all the design considerations of the reconfigurable antenna? Now here, so first of all, what are all the design considerations? That is, so the first one is the frequency. Similarly, the radiation pattern as well as the polarization. Now, I just want to tell a small thing for the young researchers here. The first most important factor that is to be considered for their research is the frequency. So where it should be used, either for the narrow band or wide band. Then we have to take these frequencies as per the guidelines of ITU, because most of the people they select the frequencies so as they require or something. So it should be as per the ITU vertical regulations. So suppose if you want to develop vertical some applications pertaining to the industry, scientific and medicinal, you have to select the ISM band applications at 2.45 or something gigahertz. So better we go for UWB because it is open for all, that is 3.1 to 10.6 gigahertz. Similarly, the application. So what for we are using these vertical, we are these antennas. Is it for the mobile applications or fixed application or platforms? And what is the volume area that is available to place the antenna, and the bandwidth consideration. Similarly, the radiation pattern and in what direction I should transmit the signal. So in what is the beam width I require. Similarly, whether it is for long distance communication or a short distance, or maybe for a small distance communications. So what is the beam width that I require. Similarly, bandwidth, radiation bandwidth, what I want to design. Now, similarly, the polarization, whether it should be linearly polarized or circularly polarized. Similarly, all these are very, very important concepts whenever you are considering a design consideration of any antenna, not only reconfigurable antenna, but similarly, what is the amount of interference that is allowed at the receiver. Similarly, how the radiating elements that are vertical, that are placed inside the antenna. Similarly, suppose I want to place a electrical switching or optical switching, we have we may go up to vertical, change in the physical orientation or changing the material properties. How do we change? Then how to apply the suitable biasing voltages depending on the application. Say for example, either it may be for a transmitting case or receiving case in the case of cognitive radio environments. Now, similarly, the reconfigurability technique minimizes the negative effects. Suppose we are using a switch that we may be placing somewhere inside the antenna, which may affect the surrounding environments. Now, for that reason, the industries they perform different tests like a thermal test, vibration test, stress test, vacuum chambers, and different tests. Because see, whenever we are designing a particular antenna, it may be placed maybe in a for defense application, maybe in a missile, or different for radar applications. They have to undergo for different kinds of tests. So we have to carefully design in order to place these switching elements inside the antenna. So the general switching elements we may come across in the design of reconfigurable antennas like RF MEMS, as well as which uses mechanical movement, in turn changed by the vertical electrostatic and magnetostatic, or maybe the piezoelectric effects. So switching means always on and off. So here, how do we achieve the on? We get the on condition and off condition. Now see RF MEMS, so they can be vertical switched on, by using by using the electrostatic or magnetostatic or piezoelectric effects. Similarly, pin diodes, so by in the forward biased conditions they may be in on conditions. Similarly, in the reverse biased condition they may be in off conditions. Varactor diodes, similar, it is similar to the PN junction diode only. Now see biasing, and moreover here it is a variable capacitance. By applying the suitable biasing voltage, we are changing the capacitance, which in turn makes these switches either to on and off. Similarly, the photoconductive elements like laser, LEDs, and all these things, they may be coming into the off condition or on conditions, and this can be achieved by using external lighting from the laser diodes. Now, whatever may be the switching element that we use inside the antenna, we can able to switch on and switch off so that we may increase or decrease the length of the antenna. Now, this is a small comparison of the electrical properties for the switching elements in terms of their electric properties. Suppose we require more switching speed, we have to go for the pin diode. Suppose isolation is of the prime importance, then MEMS are preferable. Similarly, the losses, the power consumption are very low in MEMS, but the driving voltages are more here vertical in RF MEMS. At the same time, optical switches requires less driving voltage as and low power consumption. Now similarly, but a switching speed is somewhat more compared to your pin diodes. Of course, the isolation, whenever we are talking about the isolation, we should prefer RF MEMS only. See, similarly, coming to the losses, now you can find out very minute losses in the RF MEMS. But we have to select the switching elements as per our design only. Now, what are all the design challenges when we are designing the reconfigurable antenna? So, what is the biasing circuitry? So, which makes, see, if the biasing circuit or biasing network is it is complex, which makes the antenna complex. So, what for we are using the biasing circuitry? In order to run these switches, in order to make the switches on and off, we require the biasing network. See, that is given by the vertical vendors, or we have to select from you may select from anywhere. Now that is very important because it makes the complexity of the antenna, it increases the complexity of the antenna. Similarly, increased power consumption will increase the system cost. The generation of IM products, intermodulation products, which may result in the increment in the interference. Similarly, switching speed to ensure the proper functionality of the antenna. Now here there are certain examples from the available literature, that is frequency reconfigurable antennas. Now you can see here, so this is an antenna, they have used varactor diodes, 4 varactor diodes here. Now these are all the biasing circuits. We have to drive these biasing circuits in order to make the switches on and off. Similarly, in one more design they have used the pin diodes, you just can see here. So here also they require, this is the biasing circuit. So this is an example of a pattern reconfigurable antenna. Now here they are using a different switches here along with the biasing circuitry as well as a bonding pads here. Now optically reconfigurable antenna. Now this is the antenna structure. What they are doing, this is a CPW type here. They have sandwich vertical silicon switches here. And here you just can see the frequency reconfigurability by using the optical switches like laser and thing. Now they are used. You just can observe here optical fiber is inserted to make to enter the light from the laser diodes. Now here this is optical reconfigurable antennas. Now structure alteration by mechanical means. So one more way to achieve the reconfigurability by changing the physical orientation of the antenna here. So you just can see this is antenna for cognitive radio. One is the sensing antenna, that is UWB antenna, and is vertical. Another one is UWB antenna transmitting here in the case. Now you just can see here. So behind this structure, they have placed one stepper rotor. Now here what happens is whenever the stepper rotary motor is changing, the orientation of these antenna elements will be getting changed so that it resonates at different frequencies. Similarly, based on smart materials. Now, here also in this design, physically we are not changing the materials. So by changing the properties, by applying suitable biasing voltages, suppose the liquid crystals and everything, by using our ferrite devices, by applying the suitable voltages, we are going to change the material properties. In turn, we are going to achieve the reconfigurability. Now, scope for the research. Now here, so extending we have for a the designs of reconfigurable antenna, engineers can look into these aspects like frequency of operation. So for different upcoming applications, maybe up to in millimetric waves up to 200 300 gigahertz. Similarly, effective utilization of the spectrum by increasing the frequency operation, but by considering the what you call transmitted power levels within the safer zones, bandwidth and gain, polarization effectiveness, which in turn increases the speed of operation with increased data rates. Similarly, the coverage area. Example, if at all we are designing a 5G antenna transmitters, so what is the coverage area? What area, up to what area I can cover? So all these are very, very important. Similarly, the interference mitigation techniques by using MIMO techniques. MIMO is the best concept for what you call interference mitigation techniques. Similarly, attenuation of the signals. So everyone is experiencing the attenuation of the signals during heavy rain. You may not get your signals during the rains and everything in your TVs. So you just can, all these are the different research areas where you can work. Usage in IoT platform, that is by using virtual antennas, maybe in malls or something. We may have a different gadget, different devices. So people may work on these things. Now, before going to this one, so I just want to give a small glimpse about the simulation tools, and then I'll go with the vertical design of the HFSS antenna. Now, so after designing of the antenna for the given electrical and physical specification, the antenna is to be analyzed for given application or specification before the fabrication. So there are different simulation tools that are available to carry out these same, namely IE3D, HFSS, CST, as well as ADS. Now, all these simulation packages are designed based on different computational electromagnetic techniques like FTTD, the finite difference time domain method, MOM method of moments, finite element method, as you are aware, all these things. Now, I just want to tell one small thing about these computational electromagnetics is all these are based on the Maxwell's equations only. Now, but here, how do they implement the design? Suppose we are using the suppose FDTD method, which is using the Maxwell's. They are solving the Maxwell's equations in differential equation form. Similarly, when we solve these integral form of equations, so the method of moments is being implemented. Similarly, the FEM technique basically uses the energy based or energy minimization as a function. Now, of course, they have their own different advantages and disadvantages. Now, I just give you a small point how the finite element method works, because HFSS is based on the finite element method only. Now, the finite element method, what you can see is it is basically dividing the operation or solving the design in 4 steps. First one is the discretization of the vertical, the antenna elements into number of subregions. Similarly, deriving the equations of particular element, assembling all these elements and solution of the region, and solving these equations obtained, of course. Now here ANSYS is HFSS is based on finite element numerical technique only here. So the design can be used by using, it is converting into the structure into tetrahedral meshes, and it is calculating the based on the energy functions. It is calculating the results here. Now, what are all the six steps that we have? Basic design steps that everyone should remember is, first of all, we have to create the model, then we have to assign the boundaries, then go for the excitation, then we have to set the analysis setup, then we have to analyze and solve, then after that we have to get the results. Now here, Now I just want to tell you one small design of a compound reconfigurable antenna by using ANSYS HFSS. Here, what I am going to use, I am using only 15 HFSS 15 version. Of course, you have a latest 19 versions which are sophisticated with the different solvers, different kinds of applications. But we are not permitted to use. Here I am using only 15. So let me start with the what you call this particular design. Before going to this design, I just want to tell a 2 point that is now the dimensions of the antenna. Now here you just can see these are all the dimensions of the antenna. They are calculated by using the normal patch design equations here. Now here we have to calculate the width as well as the length, because what is L effective and minus 2 delta L. Why minus 2 delta L? Because of the fringing effects, it may be extended to L and L in this direction. So minus 2 delta L we have to remove. So therefore we are calculating the dimensions of the length and width of the patch antennas. Now, so after that, so what I am going to do is I am using a inset feed here. In order to design the inset feed, we have to calculate the impedance. After calculating the patch length, so the feed line characteristics have to be calculated. So we have to find out the input impedance of the antenna. Now, so we have to calculate the edge impedance, because we have to properly interface the feed lines with the patch impedance. The current voltage ratio changes here as a ratio of, actually you just can see, cos square across the length, resulting the impedance from the edge is decreasing as a function of cosine function to the center here. So this is a different feeding techniques. So theory I am not concentrating here. So this is inset feed antenna. Now these dimensions I am designing it for 2.4 gigahertz, of course. Then what I have optimized these results to get the proper results. So that you have to keep it in mind. Now let me start with the design. Sir, is it I think it's visible now.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, sir. Now visible.
Uh, Sorry participants for the small problem. Now I just want to show you. I want to design this compound reconfigurable antenna. Now here, so it contains whatever may be the patch antenna, which contains the substrate here. Then we will have the microstrip patch. Then these are the feed. Now what I am going to do is I am using the 2 pin diode elements here. We are going to see the complex reconfigurability. What is meant by complex reconfigurability? It is giving the frequency reconfigurability, pattern reconfigurability, as well as polarization reconfigurability. The antenna can achieve all these things. That we just want to have a small demonstration here. Now let me start with we have to start with the substrate. I'm just drawing a substrate here. Now, so after this one, what I'm going to, this is the position. I am just taking it as a minus 50, comma minus 50, minus 50 here. Then the length here I'm taking it as 100. Then this one 100, and the Z size is minus 1.6 here. Why I have taken this one? You have to press Control D here. Now what I have done is I have taken, this is my ANSYS HFSS window. You just can file, you can see we can create a project here, insert HFSS design. Then immediately what we can go, we will be coming with the project manager as well as a different window here. Now what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm designing this one. So I'll give you a small introduction about this one. Actually, it is designed with FEM. And now here, before that one, what we have to do is we have to go with the modeler. We have to change the units. That is already default units are millimeters. Similarly, we have got a different modelers. Either you can go with the model or solution. Now, so this is I'm going with the driven model, which is actually, so this is different concept. We will have different types of modeling techniques here. Now the model is meant for TE design or TM design, whereas the default model for what you call TEM, like what you call different waves, we have got a terminal we have to use. Now I have designed the substrate. I've designed the substrate here. Then now what I'm going to do is I'm changing the name it as a substrate. So the material what I'm going to do is I'm using, as I've shown you, that is RT Duroid, Rogers RT Duroid. You can see here 5880, where whose relative permittivity is 2.2. This I am selecting here, then pressing enter. Now I am just making it as a transparent color, whatever may be the color I can use. So I am changing the small color here. You just can see here now. So this is our substrate. I have created the substrate. Now, so after substrate, what we have to do is we have to create the ground. There are many ways. There are 3 ways to design the ground. The simplest method that I am showing you is, so you have to select this face by entering the F value, and after entering this one, I am just clicking it. Press F and clicking. Once again, I just show you. Now here, pressing F and selecting this one, you will get like this. Now what I am going to do is edit. Now here surface. Now what we are going to do is we are create object from face. So we are creating ground plane here, or otherwise we can draw a rectangle, vertical rectangular shape also here, but this is the simplest method. Now what I am going to do is, this is what, now here this region you can see, this is a substrate here, of course. Now what I am going to do is, here we have got this is a ground. So first step is we are creating the substrate. The next step is what we are going to do is we are creating the ground plane here. Now immediately what I am going to do is, okay, we have to assign the boundaries, later we'll see it. Now I'll create the patch here. So here now we are going to create the patch. In order to create the patch, we have to select a rectangle here. Now what are all the dimensions of this rectangle? Now this is a patch. Now I am using a different color, and a transparency maybe something like this. Now so here, now what are all the dimensions? Just now I told you the width of the line is 40 and the length, that is, sir. So here I have taken the design dimensions from this slide. You just can see here. So this is a 40 and this is 44.6. Similarly, I am just entering it here. So that is I am taking it from -20, -22, comma, that is, yes, 3 here, 44, 40 here, 44.6. Now we have created the patch now here. Now what is our next step is, so we have to remove this place and we have to attach these switches. Now what I am going to do is I am drawing one more rectangle here. So that is rectangle 1. I am taking it as a rectangle as it is because I'll be subtracting this one to create this slot. So what are the dimensions of this one is -5, -22.3 here. So this what I'm going to do is now, so this is I have created one more rectangular onto my patch. Then what I have to do is I have to subtract this one. So we have to subtract the rectangular one from this patch. Then directly it can be visible here. Subtract patch minus rectangular one. So therefore you'll be getting the antenna like this. Now here, so we have done half done here. Then what is next one is we have to create the feed. I'm creating the feed here. Now what is I'm just changing its name. Okay, so first of all let me give what are the dimensions here. -2 comma -10 comma 0. Now of course that is -40. That is width of here. What we are going to do is we are giving this width and everything, of course. One second, let me speak. Okay, so in this way, just maybe some dimensions I might have given wrong here. Let me see. -20, 22.3 comma here. Okay, so the design concept I'll give here. So after one second. Okay, let me show the design here once again. Okay, I'll show the design here, otherwise. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to solve this one Rogers material I have given. Substrate, I'm creating the box with -50 comma -50 comma 0 here, of course. Now here, so the substrate I have taken like this. Then sheets, first one what I'm going to do is I'm taking the patch. So this is -20, 22.30. So first of all I'm creating the patch here, then I'm creating the rectangle, you just can see here. So this is what I'm creating the rectangle here. So this rectangle what I'm going to do is, so here we just can see this patch and this rectangle, if you can subtract, you just can see here like this. We are designing this one. The next immediate step is we have to create the switches here. So how to create the switches? Now for that reason what we have to see is, so the pin diode switches, it consists of, you just can see from this one. So it consists of two combinations. Actually it consists of a inductor as well as the parallel value capacitance connected with the resistance, because in order to make the switch on and off. So in pin diode off condition, what I am going to do is we are going to take these values, that is 0.6 nanohenries. Similarly for the capacitance 0.35 picofarads and 10 kilo ohms. Similarly in on condition, so only inductance value will be there and the resistance value will be there. So that we have to keep it in mind. So here what I am going to do is I am going to see, so this one I am creating once again. Now you just can see here once again what I have done is, so you just can see this D1 diode 1. This is a diode 1. This is here also I'm doing the same. So how to create this one? Let me create second rectangle. Suppose this is diode 1 here. One more diode here. I'm doing it here. So the length this one is diode 2. Now the values of this one I am taking it as 3 comma -15 comma 0. You just can see I have created one more rectangle here. So that is I am creating the pin diode switch here. Similarly I am creating one more diode switch here. Now the dimensions of this one I am taking it as so I have created the switching elements. So overall if you can see, first of all we have created the substrate, then I have created the patch antenna, and one more rectangle I have created here, and I have subtracted from the patch antenna, then I have created the feed point, then immediately I am creating this pin diode elements here. So this is one pin diode. Now what we have to do is we have to make these diodes on and off. For that what we are going to do is we have to give the lumped RLC, we have to make this one. So what I'll be doing is, so I'll just give you how to assign the lumped RLC or something. Now right click or select this one, suppose this one. Now I just want to make it an off condition. Just keep it in mind what is an off condition. That is it is a combination of inductance is 0.6 nanohenries, whereas the capacitance value is 0.35 as well as 10 kilo ohms. Then what we have to do is, now what I'm going to do is, see, create this one here, assign, now here assign boundary and lumped RLC. We have to click on the lumped RLC. And what are all the values that we are giving here? So suppose I want to make the diode on off condition. So what I have to do is, first one is inductance, that is 0.656 nanohenries or something. So this is, you just can see 0.6 nanohenries. So I'm just making it as, and this one I have to define this one. Actually the current feeding from this one it will be coming in this direction, so I have taken in this direction. So I am making like this. So therefore now what I am going to do is, here similarly these diodes I am going to see here. Now what I am going to do is, once again I am going to assign the lumped RLC here. Now it is a combination of your capacitance as well as the resistance. What is the capacitance value? It is a that is 0.35 picofarads in off condition. Similarly, the resistance value is 10 kilo ohms. In off condition, generally it is in the reverse biased condition, so 10 kilo ohms. So I am defining the line here. Now from this direction only I am taking. So similarly, this is off condition. Once again, what I am going to do is, I am going to say same thing, assign boundary, lumped RLC. So first one what I am going to do is, I am taking a resistance value as well as capacitance value is 10 kilo ohms, and capacitance value is 0.35 picofarads, and defining the line. Similarly, I am okay, this is okay, and I am selecting this one, lumped RLC once again. Now, so this value we are having the only inductance value 0.6 nanohenries. Right. So what we have done is press Ctrl D to achieve this one. Now here what we have to do is, so this is vertical. First we have to create the model. I have created the model. Then immediately what we have to do is, we have to give the boundaries. Now see here, this is already, I'm just you just can see here. Okay, I'm removing this one. What we have to do is, we have to give the boundaries. Right. I'm selecting this one. What you have to do is, you have to give the assigned boundaries perfectly here. So this is perfect even. So that is boundaries assignment. That is the next step I have given you. That is boundary assignment. So similarly, you have a ground here. Also, we have a ground backside. We have to take the ground. So here I am taking it as a perfect, that is assigning boundary here. This is also I am assigning the boundary. So I have assigned the boundaries. Now what we are going to do is, so this is your lumped RLC, you just can see here. This is RLC2, RLC3 and RLC4. Now immediately here in the HFSS version 15, we don't have the option to create the automatic open region, but here I have to manually draw the vertical the open region here. Now what I'll be doing is, I have to create the radiation boundary. Now here, what is the radiation boundary I have to create? So I have to draw the box. So actually in version 19 above those versions, you will have a right click on this one, you will have a option called create open region, but here we will not have the create open region. That I am not permitted to use it here now, so I am using this one. So therefore, so this one what I am going to do is, I am creating a region, of course. So in the radiation box already created here, you just can see the dimensions I have created. I can see here from here. Let's say that is I have created. This is our entire region. The next immediate step is you have to create the analysis vertically. So we have to give the excitations. Now what we have to do is you have to create the excitation here. We have to create, now let me close this radiation box. What I am doing is I am going to the YZ plane, and what I am going to do is I am creating a lumped port here. So here I have created a port. Then what I am going to do is I have given the excitation as a lumped port here. Now what is this port? I have just already created here. This is creating a lumped port. You just can see the lumped port. So already we have created. Then once otherwise I'll show you once again how to create this one. Now what I am going to do is we are going to create excitation, lumped port, integration line. What I am going to do is I have to take in this direction. So I have defined the lumped port. So first step is boundaries we have created, excitation we have created, and similarly the analysis setup we have to give. Now what is the analysis setup that I'm because this is the next step that we have to follow, that is add solution setup. Now here, so the solution frequency I'm designing it for 2.4 gigahertz. Now this is very important here. Maximum number of passes I am taking it as some 25. Default it is a 6 it is showing. What is the significance? I'll show when the results are there. We can, because the structure is creating the mesh like the grids, the tetrahedral pattern. If you give a 6 or something, the solution will not be converged perfectly. So we will not get the accurate results. Therefore, I am taking the maximum number of passes as 25 for this case. Now this I have selected here. Then after this one, what we are going to do is, so we have to give the add frequency sweep. Now there are different kinds of sweeps here: discrete, fast, and interpolating. Now see, this fast and everything, they are meant for the fixed frequencies. Now if you want to see the discrete, it will be discretizing here for a fixed frequencies. I am using it for discrete. Now I am taking it as a linear count. So see this one, what we are going to do is we can see what are all the frequencies that you are working with. You just can see all these frequencies I have selected. Then if you want to plot, save the fields. So this is actually useful whenever you are going to draw the gain versus frequency. You have to save the fields, that you have to remember. I'm clicking it as OK here. Now I have given the setup also here. Now, so first we have created the model, adding the boundaries. Then I have created the excitation, then analysis. Now if you see, just click here, so everything is coming here. Okay, then I have to analyze. So we have to analyze it. Now already ready-made I've taken the values. So because I've already analyzed, because it will take some time. Now first case, I'll be dealing with the reconfigurable antenna for the off conditions. Now you just can see here, so the results. Now whenever both the antennas, both these switches, you just can see I'm taking both these switches are in off condition. This is switch 1, switch 2, both are in off condition. What I'm going to get here, this is antenna off. You just can see the antenna. Of course I can create the results here. Create model solution, data report, rectangular plot. You can plot this. Of course, S parameters I'm going to give, new report. Now this antenna, you just can see when both the switches are in off condition, so it is giving you it is working at 5.6 gigahertz. You just can see when both the switches are in off condition, the antenna is in the it is resonating at 5.6 gigahertz. And what is its radiation pattern? You just can see, so this is a 2-dimensional radiation pattern, I just can see here, and this is a 3-dimensional radiation pattern. You just can see and just remember, anyhow I'll show you these results. So you just can see this is a radiation pattern that we have got. Now antenna is resonating at 5.6 gigahertz, and then where we are getting the different radiation patterns here. Now you just can see the field overlays. I'm showing you the surface current density. Now if you want to show the surface current density, just can see here, I'm showing here. Now you just can see the antenna is resonating linearly here. It is not any, see, the polarization is linear in this case. You just can observe the plot here. Now this is the surface current density. You just remember. So the antenna is resonating at 5.6 gigahertz, and it is giving some radiation patterns, of course. So the gain, and of course the gain values and everything of we can see. And so this is your radiation, of course axial ratio we cannot, because it is a linearly polarized, I cannot get the exact axial ratio values. Now here, now this is off condition. Now what I'm going to do is, if at all I am taking both the antennas are in on condition. Now you just can see I've already taken the results in order to save the time. Now you just can see the antenna is resonating at 4.5 gigahertz. The antenna is resonating at 4.5 gigahertz. And the radiation pattern. So this is a linear, this is also the radiation pattern is like this. And the 3D polar plot you can observe, the 3D gain plot here you can observe like this. Now this is also current density. I just want to tell you once again, I'll show you the current density here. Now here in this case also it is a linear polarization. You just can see the current distribution is linear. So this is also linear. So the whenever the antenna is in off condition, it is resonating at 5.6 gigahertz, whereas in an on condition it is coming to the 4.5 gigahertz, and the current distribution is linear here, of course. Now here, now another two cases we will see here, that is a switch one on. What I am going to do is, so I am making only this switch on. What is happening? Let us see. This is the switch on. You just can see the antenna is resonating. What is the frequency it is resonating? It is resonating at 2.4 gigahertz, as well as, of course, now here this is 3.1 gigahertz. Whenever the antenna switch one is in on condition, it is resonating at two frequencies, 2.4 gigahertz, 3.1 gigahertz. Similarly, the radiation pattern also will be getting changed. Now this is different. Now you just can, we'll show it here. Now this is different compared to the first results. I'll show you in the PPT all these results. Now what is the radiation vertical current density? You just can see here. Now you just can observe the antenna is, it is a left hand, the current distribution is, it is moving in this direction. You just can see, whereas in the previous case it is linear, but whereas in this case you just can observe it is a left hand circular polarization here. You just can see it is tilting towards left. It is moving towards left. Similarly, whenever the switch one off and switch two on condition, the antenna is resonating at different frequencies. So it is resonating at 2.5 gigahertz and 3.2 gigahertz. Similarly, so the gain plots you just can see here, Of course. Now this is a gain plot. The radiation patterns you just can observe. This is a different radiation pattern. Now current density you just can see here. Now it is completely, the current distribution is completely different. It is radiating towards the right hand. So this is RHCP, right hand circular polarization we are going to get. Now you just can, we can see it from these results. That is, once again I'll just tabulate in the tabular form. I'll just show. So when both these switches are in off condition, the antenna is resonating at 5.6 gigahertz, and the return loss value is of course minus 21 I've got, and the peak gain of 6.27 dB for the case of both the off conditions. I think you just can see here. Of course, actually gain value you just can see from here. So these values, of course I've taken okay, so its value, gain value is, you just can, of course we can try it, no problem. You just can see here. So what is the maximum value and everything, add a trace characteristics. I am taking the maximum values now, of course. So of course we will have the different gain values here. Similarly, the polarization that I am showing you is a linear value. And now for these application, as I told you, it is working for mobile devices as well as a radar applications. Now whenever this switch only this switch 1 is in on condition, the antenna is resonating at the antenna is resonating at 2.4 gigahertz as well as 3.1 gigahertz. Similarly, you will have, it is just now I told you, I've shown you, it is working with the RHCP, right hand circular polarization, and these are the return value, return loss values, and you, the peak gain value also getting changed. Therefore the application is meant for Bluetooth and wireless LAN. Similarly, switch 1 off and switch 2 on. Now it is working at two different frequencies. Now peak gain of 5.43, that is gain value has got changed. Similarly, you have got LHCP operation. Now for both the switches are in on condition, you are getting a, it's a, the antenna is resonating at 4.5 gigahertz, and the polarization what we have seen is the that linear operation. Now this is applications are meant for weather and radar. Now here, so that is what we have seen, all these results you just can see here. So this is your 6-point gain and everything. Switch 1 and off are both are off conditions. Now switch 1 on and off condition, just now I've shown you the results. All these results just are placed here for understanding purpose. This is the radiation pattern, 3D gain value, and this is switch 1 and off, switch 2 on condition. It is resonating at 2.5 and 3.2, and the current distribution I've shown you there. So you just can see the radiation patterns already. You just can see it is tilted in this direction, whereas you can see here it is tilted in this direction. Similarly, both these switches are in on condition. It is resonating at 4.5 gigahertz. So the radiation pattern gets changed. Now this is here. So therefore, the designed antenna what we have designed, the antenna can be able to give the frequency reconfigurability, because this is, they are different, resonating at different frequencies. Similarly, it is resonating, it is giving you the pattern reconfigurability, because you just can see it is giving you different patterns, you just can observe here. So pattern reconfigurability, similarly the polarization reconfigurability that I have shown in the vertical current distribution and everything. So therefore the designed antenna can give the both all these and reconfigurabilities of frequency, pattern as well as polarization. Hence I can say it is a compound reconfigurable antenna. Now, so this is about my presentation. Now, so these are all the references that we have used, right? Of course, I just request you to encourage me. Actually, I've published my book, that is Electromagnetic Waves and Transmission Lines, in the Dolphin Publishers, and also I'm writing a book on reconfigurable antennas, which is coming in next 2 months or 3 months, because I've applied for the ISBN. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and I'm extremely sorry for that interruption, and so that I could move somewhat fastly. So that is, I'm extremely sorry.
Thank you, sir. Hello.
Sir, come.
Sir. Thank you for Dr. DMK Chaitanya sir for this wonderful session, and we are very much thankful. Sorry for that the inconvenience caused for that due to network issue and some problem. So I will hand it over to Madam Usarani ma'am
So
for that validated
sir, if any participants having any doubts, please let them.
Yeah, please.
Please, any participants if any doubt.
If any participants any question, you can ask that.
Sir, yeah, I have one question, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, in the PPT, the microstrip was connected to the patch. It was insert feed and it was connected to the patch, sir. Is it not, sir?
No, actually, so this is insert feed. I have not connected it to the patch. So switches are connected.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Hello, just now who is asked the questions? Who is here name? What is the name of?
This is Manish, sir. Manish here.
But you are registered in Webinar School of EC. How we are find out your attendance?
No, I registered as Manish, sir. Manish Sharma.
No, you are registered, but whenever in Microsoft Teams app, it is showing as Webinar School of ECE.
Okay.
So we are unable to find your attendance. That's why we are unable to find you. We are unable to identify who is Webinar School of ECE. Please ping to our coordinator and tell your correct name.
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
You told your full name. You send me message.
Okay, sir. Any other participants, please? Any other questions?
Sir, I have one doubt, sir.
Yeah,
sir, how will we decide the values of inductors, capacitor and resistors for getting some like switches? That's what we did in PPT or in presentation.
Right. So we have to, first of all, while selecting the switches, first of all, we should select the frequency of operation. Suppose I am working for 6 gigahertz or 5 gigahertz. So the frequency, the pin diodes are different actually. Suppose if you are going, means first specification is the frequency. So that we have to select from the vendor, maybe DigiKey or something. So there they will be giving you the the on and off. The vendor will give you in the data sheet actually. So because the manufacturer only will decide that one. So majorly we have to select for the frequency of operation. The switch what I have used for 6 gigahertz may not be useful for 10 gigahertz. So these on and off values, specifications given by the vendors. Data sheet they will be providing. So like that we have to select.
Sir, thank you very much, sir. One question I have one more question.
Sir, tell me.
Sir, you told about the frequency of operation given by some ITUT standards.
Yes.
So is there any reference from where, sir, at least we can get some standard frequencies for different operations, like some materials, sir?
All see, electromagnetic specification, that is electromagnetic spectrum, it is given as per the recommendations of ITU only. All the frequencies, the allocation, whatever they have given, all these standards you just can see here, all these standards are given by the ITU only, so that we cannot decide. So this is IEEE standards. So this spectrum, because what are the frequencies that you can go, all these frequencies are approved by the ITU only. I cannot use my own frequencies, because I may design my own antenna which is meant for defense application or maybe different application. So therefore, in order to avoid the interference and for the secrecy, we will not be allowed. We will be allocated certain frequencies only, which is purely controlled by the international regulator body ITU. That's all.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Any
Hello,
other?
sir, I have one question.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Sir, I have one question.
Okay.
Sir, here in this case, you used inside feed. Can you use quarter wavelength feed?
Yeah, definitely you can use, but depending on the shape of the antenna, that's what in the design challenges slide I have shown you. That is where to keep the switching element. The how do we achieve the reconfigurability? By placing the switching elements. So where you place the switching element is of most prime concern. So you have to keep some place, right? Where you have to keep, that is also depending on the shape of the antenna and type of the antenna. You can use it, no problem.
So if I am using rectangular patch antenna, then I can't use this pin diodes, because in quarter wavelength there is no space between this between patch and this quarter wavelength.
What you can do is there you can create a slot and you can place the antenna. You can insert the antenna.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Got it. Yeah. So one more thing, including this single patch, can we
One
extend?
you just can see here, small to understand your question. I think maybe this is your rectangular patch. May not be insert feed here. You create one more patch and place switches.
Okay. Yeah. Got it, sir. Yes. Sir, can we use array in this same concept? Can we extend our number of patch?
Yeah, we can use.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
I have one question. May I ask you?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir,
Yeah,
I have a question. Suppose we wanted to use multiple patches.
Yeah.
So while connecting them one on the other, is there any the material available which is connecting them, or how we can connect them? Multi-patch antenna.
Multi-patch means you are keeping aside, or you keeping one by one on the other?
One on other.
So
One on
that
other.
actually that is see, when you increase the substrate thickness, you can increase the bandwidth. That is, and here what happens is so as you go on increasing the thickness, you will have the bandwidth definitely will be increased, but the losses will be more. Now there you have to use a aperture type of coupling, indirect type of coupling you have to use. There also there is a chance of keeping the switches. There also you can use. So major advantage of that type of connections, that type of modeling is to increase the bandwidth. So that is we are using for aperture. If we increase the substrate thickness, losses will be more, because the feed point also will be giving you this spurious radiations. Therefore, in order to avoid that one, we are going for the aperture type of coupling.
Sir, one question.
Got the answer?
Yes, sir.
Sir, one question is there. How magnetic bias are applied in the ferrite substrate?
Depends on the magnet in the ferrite substrates and different materials when we are using. Now what we are, suppose a liquid is there, see the liquid properties will be getting changed by changing the biasing voltages. Now externally we have to control. That is what the disadvantage with those the changing of materials. So externally we have to control the biasing voltage to change the properties of the material in order to achieve the reconfigurability.
That is possible in HFSS also.
No, that we cannot do. That means we have to give the biasing voltages here. I cannot apply actually. But fixed biasing voltage you can apply and you can see it, but variably we cannot do it in HFSS.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Any other questions?
Hello, sir.
I have one question.
Now, in case
Hello?
of designing
Hello?
the pin diode biasing line to energize the
Yes.
pin diode, in case of HFSS, the model designing, we have to design the bias line, and if the bias line in the ground plane, then the connection of the from this ground plane to the upper patch plane for energize the pin diode. The connections have to modeled in the HFSS in case of simulation.
No,
And
actually,
what is the effect if we not design this connection in the case of modeling or in HFSS? So what kind of deflection will be there in the measurement result and the simulation result?
one thing I can say you is, see, when we are designing for the vertical pin diode section and everything, we cannot put the bias lines, and of course you can do it, but here the simplest method is to use the lumped RLCs. See, whenever we are doing with the biasing lines and everything, which will affect the performance of the antenna also. So here I'm using, what we are using is the lumped RLCs. That's what I told you. So you just can see here the lumped RLC I have given. Now whenever you are going for these type of whatever you are saying, so which will definitely affect the performance of the antenna.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, for MIMO antenna, reduction of mutual coupling is the big important part. So, in these different types of technique is there for reduction of mutual coupling. How we will assess it, like that? If rectangular patch we are taking, sometimes we are taking the neutralization line technique or parasitic elements. How can we take those? Is there any theoretical part is there for that?
Theoretical part, actually, so the MIMOs antennas, that is multiple input and multiple output antennas, are majorly useful for the reduction of the interference actually. Now
Yes.
that technique, what they are going to do is, say in that particular antenna, suppose one section is radiating in a particular direction, the radiation pattern is different for that antenna, which is means we are isolating the radiation pattern in the other direction. So in that the radiation, the directivity of the antennas are different for different the multiple inputs and multiple outputs. Therefore, so the same antenna where we are getting the reduction in the interference, means by the application of the excitations only.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Sir, for those researchers who wanted to just start their research,
Yes.
could you please suggest them which simulation software is more suitable for antenna design, HFSS, ADS, CSTM, or any other? Which
Better you
one
go.
is preferred?
Better you go with the HFSS only. See, of course, IE3D and ADS, they are IE3D. They are saying it is 3D, but it is only 2.D. It is not a 3D actually, perfectly. But HFSS is it is well and good. And similarly, CST also can be used. But that ADS still they are using in the defense laboratories and everything. But the more accurate results can be found in HFSS.
Okay.
HFS is the best. Or otherwise
Hello,
CST
sir.
also next. Yes.
Hello,
Yes.
sir.
Yes.
So, under analysis setup, we have one option broadband. So, at what time we have to use this option?
Actually, in the analysis setup, there are two times. When the antenna is for the fixed frequency, and in the latest versions, I think in 15, what I have shown you in my version, it will not be displayed actually. But here, whenever you are going for the fixed frequency in the analysis setup, suppose the antenna is in wideband region. Whenever you are operating the antenna in a wideband operation, you go with the broadband so that you will get the results accordingly. Suppose I am using it for the ultra wideband and I am designing from the ultra wideband 3.1 to 10.6 gigahertz. Better you go with the broadband antennas, but it will take more time to analyze actually compared to your fixed frequencies.
Okay, sir. So, one more question. Sir, when plotting radiation efficiency, due to some reason it is coming greater than 1. So what may be the possible reason for this?
So maybe there may be a some small flaw in the design, or in
Okay.
the radiation pattern. Means which version you are using?
So what?
Version of HFSS.
So 19.
Maybe I think the radiation pattern setup is already defined. You just can check with the design. Maybe some small deviations in the. You have to do
Okay,
it
sir.
trial.
And so if I am making an ultra wideband from 3.1 to 10.6, then what should be the radiation box size?
Radiation box size actually it is someone I think can unmute. See the rate. Some noise is coming. Noise is coming. Participants, Geetanjali, please unmute. Please mute yourself, Geetanjali.
Sir, I'm asking the question.
Okay, I'll tell you. I'll tell you the answer. So please mute yourself. Okay. No, the answer is radiation box is depending on the structure of the antenna aperture. Generally, radiation box will be in general. So what we are the distance from the antenna aperture must be lambda by 3. So it is actually different for different this thing. Suppose if at all you are using a radiation box, generally the distance is lambda by 3. Similarly, if you are using FEBI boundaries, it must be lambda by 8. Suppose if at all you are using a PML boundaries, it must be lambda by 6 like that. So the radiation box distance is, it must be more than lambda by 3 or lambda by 2 distance from the antenna aperture. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
I have one question, please. May I ask?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah,
Hello. Sir, I have seen some examples in HFSS help, sir,
Yes.
but it is not clear to me how magnetic bias is applied to ferrite substrate.
Yes, madam.
Sir, how magnetic bias is applied to ferrite substrate?
So that's what I have answered. Actually, see in HFSS you cannot completely, the biasing voltage external fixed frequencies only you can give. We cannot alternate them continuously. So when we give the voltage and everything only for particular operation only we can observe, right? So continuously you cannot vary these magnetic biasing voltages.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you, sir.
I have one question.
Yes.
Hello, madam. We got the last question. Last question, ferrite substrate. Hello, madam.
Yeah, in some research paper, I have seen.
Yeah. Some participant is asking question. Yes, sir. Continue, sir.
Yeah, in some research paper. So does this have a negative impact on the practical implementation? In other words, does the number of active components affect the practical implementation?
Sir, it's not audible and clear. The question is.
I said in some research paper that the author was used a large number of active components. For example, 6 or 7 PIN diodes was used. So does this have any impact on in the practical implementation or no?
I think it's not clear, but whatever I understood. See, the impact of pin diodes, definitely the diodes will be there on the radiating elements, that is antenna. Suppose if at all you are using the pin diode or whatever may be the electrical switching elements that you are using along with the antenna will definitely affect the performance of the antenna, because the biasing line you have to see in practicality where we are keeping the biasing lines. So all these are these definitely will affect the performance. That is the reason why you have to see, you have to design, you have to select the switches with less biasing circuitry, and it must be kept at a different distance, because which will have an impact on the design of the antenna practically. Yes.
Number of these components. I said some research paper, the author was used 7 or 8 BIN diode in the same design.
Yeah.
So does this is accepted in practical or have an impact to use large number of components, for example, 8 BIN diode in the same design?
See, maybe in the paper they might have accepted, definitely, which will affect the performance of these antenna, because these antenna, depending on the application. Suppose if at all I'm using a defense applications, maybe my diode, it is a diode, definitely it will have a temperature and everything. So continuously it is operating for a certain time and everything. The temperature will have a effect on the surrounding circuitry, which will affect the performance not only of the antenna, but definitely which will affect the performance of the entire system. So that is the reason why whenever we are see, not only defense application, for practical applications, they will be conducting the thermal tests actually. So what is the amount of temperature or heat that it can withstand, or what is the performance of the that particular design system. Similarly, stress test. Suppose I'm using in missile, whether if at all I'm keeping the diode or some component, whether it can stay, it can be there safely for a particular vibration. So like that, practically we have to select something like that, and definitely they will have the effect, right? So temperature, thermal effect will be there, similarly different, which will affect the performance of the entire circuitry also. I hope I've cleared.
Okay, sir. Question is a never-ending process. It will be go on. If any questions are there, they can post in the chat box. We will send to the speaker, and he will definitely give that answer. And that answer again forwarded to the groups. So that is the last day of our FDP, and we are thinking we are again try to continue this type of FDP in the future. So I will hand it over mic to the host. That it is Mrs. Usarani ma'am for the validated.
And thank you for Vijay Kumar sir, and I think we met you. We already thank you, and Samiran Chatterjee sir, and the team committee, technical committee, as well as organizers, coordinators.
Yes, sir.
Right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'm extremely sorry for that particular thing for 10 minutes, maybe 5
that
10
it doesn't matter, sir. That is network issue. We cannot do anything for that.
Right.
It is not in our hand.
Yeah, so that I can run somewhat hurriedly, because we made something. Okay, thank you anyhow.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
It's over to Usha, madam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Now it's the time for valedictory session. The one-day week, a faculty development program on modeling, measurements, and recent trends in microstrip antennas comes to an end with a very good response from all the sides, that is management, department, and participants. We are fortunate that we got young and dynamic participants, either researchers or faculty or students, and with their enormous questions to the speaker. All the sessions ended with an excellent question-answer session. All the speakers explained the queries very clearly. We, the Department of ECE, are also thankful to the IETA Student Forum, Hyderabad chapter, and IEEE MTTS Kerala chapter for their continuous and endless support as a technical co-sponsors for this event, and also thankful to the effort to make this event a grand success. We are also thankful to all the speakers for accepting our invitation and also delivering a wonderful lecture which ended with a beautiful question answer session. Nowadays, microstrip antenna has a very vast application in all aspects, and day by day activities, its importance is increased in a rapid manner. Many of the researchers are also doing enormous research to increase the performance of microstrip antennas. Antenna is a transporter which converts guided wave to electromagnetic wave and vice versa. The main advantage of microstrip antenna is low cost and small size, which makes a microstrip antenna a very popular in the world. Due to the invention of microstrip antenna, we are able to use our mobile phones with very low cost and without any disturbance in the signal because we insert the microstrip antenna inside our phones due to the small size, and we carry the antenna with us, which is only possible due to small size and low cost. We are also thankful to all the speakers because they help the young researchers participants who are starting the research in this field, and they have achieved some idea that how they can start the research in this field. Now it's time for giving special thanks to the speakers individually. Dr. Samiran Chatterjee sir gave a basic knowledge and basic design of microstrip antenna. Also gave hands-on training about the methods of movement based IE3D software to design microstrip antenna. Next, Dr. L. Anjanelu sir gave excellent idea about the design of reconfigurable antennas and also explained the measurement of polarization and power pattern. Professor A. Ravikumar sir explained very clearly the idea of antenna measurement techniques, that is anechoic chamber. Dr. Indrana Sarkar sir highlighted the modern design and new roadmap of microstrip antenna to the researchers for starting the research in this field.
Usharani ma'am. Madam, you are mute, madam.
So I have to start from
Hello, Mr. Murthy, you can unmute.
Sir. Yeah, okay, sir.
Yeah, madam, start.
You can start, madam.
Yeah. Dr. N. Anjanelu sir gave excellent idea about the design of reconfigurable antennas and also explained the measurement of polarization and power pattern. Professor A. Ravikumar sir explained very clearly the idea of antenna measurement technique in anechoic chamber. Dr. Indra Sarkar sir highlighted the modern design and new roadmap of microstrip antenna to the researchers for starting the research in this field. Dr. Chinmay Shah sir highlighted a clear overview of design of terahertz antenna and its application. Also, we know that the design of terahertz antenna is not only limited to the antenna engineers, it is a combination of all fields and it requires the association from physics, mathematics, mechanical, and solid state engineers to design any terahertz antenna. Dr. Dabdeep Sarkar sir gave general guidelines to the researchers about antenna engineers' perspectives and also gave a clear overview of 5G, 6G, and MIMO antenna where wireless technology is applied. Dr. DMK Chaitanya sir explained hands-on practice session for design of reconfigurable antennas using HFSS software. Now, my special thanks goes to the coordinators of the event, Dr. Samiran Chatterjee sir and Mr. G. Narendra for their effortless support for last 10 days, and also a special thanks to the coordinator to arrange such good quality speakers for making this event a grand success. Now, a special thanks to the backbone of our department, our HOD, ECE, Mr. Vijay Kumar R. Ukre sir, for his continuous encouragement, which gives a special motivation to make this event a grand success. Now, I thank those persons without which this event cannot reach a grand success, and it is Dr. L. Rataya Garu, our beloved chairman, VMTW Group of Institutions, and Mr. B. Shravan sir, CEO of VMTW Group of Institutions. Now, I finally thank our principal, Dr. G. Apparao Naidu, for his heartful encouragement and motivation, which makes this event a grand success. And last but not the least, the special thanks goes to all the audience and participants for helping us to make this event a grand success. And I also thank the entire faculty members of EC Department of Vignan Institute of Management and Technology for Women and our technical team for their everyday support to make this event successful. Now, I hand over the mic to our beloved ECE HOD sir, Mr. Vijay Kumar R. Gupte sir, for his talk regarding the event, and following this talk, we conclude our event.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, madam. I thanks all the participants. Thank you, madam. I thanks all the participants and all the listeners, all the researchers who are young researchers who are doing the research in this area, in the area of microstrip patch antenna, design of microstrip patch antenna. I think whatever the efforts you had taken in this last 6 days for arrangement of speakers, you might have all this, the participants, you might have got up to some extent some knowledge about design of this microstrip patch antenna and all. So I thanks all our all the participants, as well as I thanks all my group members, all my faculty members and all. Also I thanks all the speakers also. Now this one announcement to the participants. Feedback link for this FDP we will activate it by tomorrow. We will keep it open for 2 days. Please give all the active participants are requested to give their feedbacks within these 2 days, and your certificate, participation certificates will for all the active participants will be delivered to your mail ID, which is being registered with us within a week. Thank you one and all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for all the participants and speakers to make this event a grand success. Thank you everyone. So we conclude our event with a grand success and all this.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I'll be sending you the slides. Right, sir? Thank you.
Yeah.
Sir,
Thank you.
Chaitanya sir.
Sir.
Sir, Chaitanya sir. Sorry for the delayed query. Sorry for the delay. Sir, Vijay Kumar sir, if you give me a permission to ask a query, then only I can proceed, sir.
Yeah, you can. Chaitanya sir is there online. You can.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Chaitanya sir, we have met at Bangalore, HFS Bangalore, Multiple Technologies.
Yes, I can remember.
Sir, my little doubt is, sir, at the time of simulation, while switch on condition, we take only resistor values like 50 ohms, 50K, like that, sir. Only we have considered only resistor value. What about capacitor inductor value, sir?
That's what I've told you. See, in general, what we consider at low frequencies is diode in forward bias and reverse bias condition. What you are going to do is it is in series with resistance and capacitance, of course. So if for forward bias, the resistance will be very low for a diode, yes or no? So, but for reverse bias,
yes,
definitely its value will be high. So in general, at low frequencies, we'll talk about only the resistance values rather than the capacitance and everything. But at high frequencies, definitely inductance and capacitance values also will be getting changed. Will affect the biasing conditions in order to make the on and off. To be more precise, so we should consider the inductance and capacitance values also along with resistance. Otherwise, you will not get the perfect values. You also can get the results, but they may not be accurate because all these values are given by the vendors.
Sir, during fabrication also we take the same, sir.
Yeah. During the fabrication, you have to go with the biasing conditions. Actually,
so that means at simulation and fabrication, what we have taken values are little bit changes, sir.
That's what I have shown you. Just now I have given the practical implementation only. I have considered the inductance and capacitance values. I have not only considered, you just can see here that two switches I have taken, I think. You just can, I think you might have observed. Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So the two things I have taken. So therefore, means I have considered the capacitance and inductance values also depending on the vendor specifications. I've taken a particular pin diode.
Okay. Thank you for your nice clarification, sir.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.